President Donald Trump is reportedly preparing to significantly expand his widely criticized travel ban, potentially targeting citizens from an additional 36 countries, largely in Africa, as well as select nations in Central Asia, the Caribbean, and the Pacific. A confidential memo from the State Department, signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and reviewed by The Washington Post, indicates that these countries now face new U.S. benchmarks on identity documents, visa overstay prevention, and combating anti-American or anti-Semitic activity. Governments have been given 60 days to respond, submitting initial action plans by 8 a.m. Wednesday, or risk visa bans or tighter restrictions. The memo lists 36 countries, including 25 in Africa, like Egypt, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Uganda, along with others, Cambodia, Kyrgyzstan, Syria, Tonga, and Vanuatu. Earlier in June 2025, Trump signed a proclamation banning or restricting travel from 19 countries, 12 under a full denial and 7 with partial restrictions. This revived his first-term policy, notably upheld by the Supreme Court in Trump v. Hawaii, 2018. In addition, a January 20 executive order, EO 14161, directed agencies to evaluate global vetting and propose nations for suspension within 60 days. By mid-March, a draft list of 43 countries, divided into tiers of severity, red, orange, yellow, had begun to emerge. According to The Washington Post and Anadolu Agency, the targeted nations include Africa, 25 countries, Angola, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cameroon, Chad, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Egypt, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Malawi, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Others, Antigua and Barbuda, Bhutan, Cambodia, Dominica, Kyrgyzstan, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, São Tomé and Príncipe, Syria, Tonga, Tuvalu, Vanuatu. They'll be assessed on 4 key benchmarks. 1. Reliable civil document issuance, ID, passports. 2. Passport security and resistance to fraud. 3. Visa overstay rates in the U.S. 4. Evidence of anti-American or anti-Semitic activity among their nationals. Countries may avoid restrictions by agreeing to accept deportees or acting as safe third countries for asylum seekers. Critics, especially Democrats and civil rights groups, labeled the proposal xenophobic and potentially racially motivated, citing its focus on black, brown, and Muslim-majority nations. Under Trump's first-term bans, legal challenges called it the Muslim ban, and similar rhetoric has resurfaced, reinforcing fears of racism in immigration policy. Supporters point to the earlier Supreme Court ruling affirming Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act, which gives broad authority to the president to block entry into the U.S. Advocates argue that national security and border control demand stricter vetting, citing recent incidents like a stabbing in Colorado involving a visa overstayer from Egypt, which Trump referenced during his June proclamation. The June 4 proclamation took effect June 9, banning or limiting visas from 19 countries. The 36-country expansion awaits diplomats' action plans by mid-August. Enforcement could follow depending on compliance. Exemptions apply: U.S. permanent residents, diplomats, dual nationals with non-restricted passports, and select groups, for example, athletes, adoptees, Afghan civ-holders. Yet, the expansion could implicate hundreds of thousands of travelers, tourists, students, migrant workers, and split families, as seen in earlier bans. The January EO 14161 codified this vetting approach, but the 60-day deadlines intensify pressure. Legal scholars expect court challenges, especially on constitutional grounds or allegations of discrimination. Congress is being urged to legislate checks on Section 212F, aiming to curtail sweeping executive power. Overseas, governments are likely scrambling to comply or negotiate to avoid inclusion. Those failing to respond or meet benchmarks may face full or partial visa bans by early fall 2025. As the July deadline approaches, the world watches. Will these 36 nations step up? Will Congress intervene? Will the courts weigh in again? For now, the latest travel ban saga marks a bold escalation of Trump's immigration agenda, poised to reshape global travel and diplomatic relations well beyond U.S. borders.